sometimes where I get on my soapbox about the meaning of life and I just really want to be the annoying person at the dinner party that says, "Why? Okay, and why? And why that? And why again?" Which sometimes I feel like I sound like an annoying 6-year-old, but other times it's like we really do get somewhere really good with that continued line of questioning. And I think that that's a really powerful line of questioning to have with yourself too. If you don't really know why you feel a certain way and you're trying to figure out maybe what wound lies under that or what piece of yourself that you are wanting to learn more about, just keep asking why until you get to something that feels like a root, and eventually it'll probably come up again, cycles once more, and you'll get to ask why some more and heal another dimension of it or bring awareness to another dimension of it. And I also really love how Kay Margaret's work deals in place, because that's something that in my research around this colonization and colonialism, um, and all of these different cycles that we are participants in, um, it's something that a lot of my research has really brought up for me. And there's an animist way of thinking that says that there is no such thing as space. Everything is place. And I think that is really the uniting thread between Kay Margaret's work and Elspeth Hayes' work, truly, is how do we as human beings engage with place? And that every place we are in, there are attending spirits to that place. There is an energy to that place. There is a person to that place. Depending on the worldview you're working from, right? But with engaging with something that is alive and nuanced, treating it with the respect and dignity of place as opposed to space, I think is really important and powerful. And last but not least, episode 10 this season was with Shara Goswick, and I met Shara at the podcast movement convention that I went to. It was my first podcast convention, and it was the first time I was at anything with a creator badge, and it was just such a fun, lovely experience, but also so lovely to meet Shara. And once again, the humbling nature of people trusting me with their story and trusting this space and this community with that story will never will always be novel to me and will always just make me feel so grateful, because ultimately all of this work together, coherence, the reason why all of this work together culminates in the word cohere, coherence, is because even though we all have a different relationship to the numinous, to the imaginal, to something beyond, and we are quote unquote spiritual beings having a physical experience, the thing that we in our current modern mindset cling to is what we can prove as reality. And we cannot move beyond our physical reality in a Maslow's hierarchy of needs sense if our physical needs have not been met. Even though there are higher order things that do beg for our attention and bear and need our attention, we have to begin with food, shelter, physical safety, emotional safety, community, and connection. That's where we have to begin. And we can't do any of this other work if we don't have that. It is a privilege, the biggest privilege in the world, to be able to do this work. And therefore, we have to acknowledge this physical reality. And that's something that so many spiritual and philosophical communities and works and histories completely negate. And that's why justice has to be a part of this. Because if I believe that I'm worthy of meaning making, that means I believe every single other person is worthy of meaning making. And that means that everyone should have, deserves the equal opportunity and access to meaning making. And that means we all need our baseline fundamental needs met for this physical reality. And we have to begin there as a species, as a humanity, and then build upward. And then not only do we get to work on self-actualization, but we can work on collective actualization and what that looks like. But none of it fucking matters if there are people who are starving. None of it fucking matters if people still don't have clean drinking water. None of it fucking matters if genocides continue happening in this world. Because we live in a physical world. And that is the most pressing reality at hand. Not to say that all of your work should center on this one most immediate thing, right? Like there's different levels of immediacy and different nuances and complexities that we have to hold when it comes to taking care of the self and others, of course. But that's why coherence is a collective. And that's also why coherence has to integrate justice. And that's also why we make such space for this physical reality, for space, not space, place, for other human beings, for the physical body, for our physical wellness, our mental health, for community and connection and relationships. Because it is only with and of those things that the numinous can also be called in, and vice versa. It is all in divine dialogue and communion with one another.